so you released your first solo album, like as the new rebranding of yourself and everything, and you're working on the next one.
Right.
In between, then we scooped you up.
Correct.
My band Crusade scooped you, and around that same time, so we met this cool cat.
I was just making sure that my mic was on over there.
Yeah, it definitely didn't peak or anything.
Is it?
That was shortly after y'all found him?
Very shortly.
I don't know that.
Yeah, like Penn. When did we meet, Casey?
Yeah, I mean, Pendulum had just come out, I think, like a month before. Or
really?
I think like came out the week we met, maybe even. Something like that. It was very recent.
Yeah, I mean, we met Bryan a week before we had to track vocals. So,
for Pendulum.
That's actually, I met you at the session.
Yes,
to track it. We never met before.
I don't even think did we even speak on the phone?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, Nathan's like, here's the thing. Like you sent me an email. Here's a song. Here's the lyrics. I'm like, Fozzie Bear. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I showed up to the thing, and that's literally the first time we actually interacted and met was at the session for Pendulum.
And you can speak to this, Casey. He is a fucking joy to work with in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, not even just because of how much fun you are as a person or generally like agreeable you are to critique or suggestion, but yeah, your stamina is crazy and you stay open and productive and responsive and hopeful. And even when we would be working on one part for hours, it's not like it's not like the takes were bad. It's just like if we were going for something very specific and maybe I was doing a bad job explaining what it was and whatever it was, you just never lost hope and you always tried 100%. And that's, I think, part of why the end result is such a singular vision, because everyone really stuck to it. And you were the person I worked with the most as far as, just having it, what everyone is hearing is kind of like the vocal is the thing that I had the most input over, I'd say.
Oh, truly. It's also the only acoustic instrument on that song.
Yeah.
The drums.
I mean, yeah, there's the drums.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 13 hours on the vocals of Betrayal, something like that, like lead vocals. And you say you didn't tune them. Are you sure you didn't tune them?
Like, oh God, no. Yeah, I didn't tune them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
no, I don't like that
mega
sound.
impressive.
When I get to produce a singer who is actually really good, that's like that. We spent so much time on the vocals. That's because you're really good. That's because it might seem counterintuitive to people who don't produce or record or do music for a living. Mm-hmm. But it's as a producer, when you know what someone is capable of, you spend that much more time getting it to where you know it's their best.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, and if you know they're not capable of much, then it's just like the sessions are a lot quicker because you're going to be fixing it as you go. At least I do. Like when a singer's really bad and I'm producing them, like they'll do a take and then I'll be like, all right, take a break for 5 minutes and then I'll see if I can tune it to make it work and time it to make it work. Mm-hmm. And if I can, then then we're done and it's the next take. And usually when the singer is that bad to where I'm accepting takes that I don't like, but I think I could deform sufficiently to make sound good in the end. It's because I don't think they're great. But when I think a singer's great, then I spend a fuckload of time with them on making it be like everything I want it to be because I know they're capable of that and they're capable of really doing it. Yeah. And to me, that end result of someone really did it and I didn't have to make it. I didn't have to do the studio magic to make it sound great. That's the kind of difference that people notice but don't know how to describe. And yeah, those are the kinds of things that live forever.
Absolutely.
To me, because everything people hear on the radio, the majority of it is tuned and timed and edited to perfection. And I know because I do a lot of it. And I think that it doesn't leave as much of a lasting impression because without people people who
I can
aren't
think of one artist in particular that I'm not going to say that I need to show you later, that it's like, it's too sterile, way too sterile. Doesn't even feel like human beings anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll show you later.
Yeah, and people can't put their finger on what it is about something that makes it sound too sterile most of the times. Some people can tell the vocals are fake or something, but the majority of people can't, and they're not going to be able to point out why. But I think that the humanity in a performance is the thing.
Oh yeah, like the caveman in all of us can hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's something as simple as, you know, most tuning softwares remove harmonics and just keep the fundamental, and that's not what a voice doesn't sound like that. It also sounds fucking boring when a voice has fewer harmonics. A lot of people.
Can I slightly backtrack really quick?
Yeah.
A testament to both your work and also Bryan's work is that, I mean, I've been through comping vocals before. You know, get all the takes, and then you choose which one's the best. I have never been in a situation where the comp was going through not which one is the best, but which one do we like the most stylistically.
Yeah,
because there were so many good fucking options. Like,
you did, yeah, and you know, what's
spoiled for choice.
And what's funny is sometimes the ones that we picked that are, like, for example, on Betrayal, sometimes the ones that I picked as my favorite one that ended up on there are not the most in tune ones. They're not the most in time ones.
I noticed that today.
Sometimes I like when a vocal is out of tune.
Yeah.
Sometimes, me and my writing partner Yuka just did this. Yuka was on, for those of you watching recently with us.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. Like, we were actually just recording me the other day on our upcoming release, which is released under my name, like Cult of Cthulhu was. And I sang it in tune, but Yuka actually wanted it sharp. So we tuned it sharp. We used tuning software to make something less in tune.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
Which is hilarious.
It's sick.
I love it.
Yeah. And, like, I'm way more into that kind of thing than, I mean, I actually don't even know how to justify that necessarily in this context. But
well, it's truly using tools to elevate the artistry, not cover up the lack thereof, or the lack of performance or skill or whatever.
Yeah. Plus, singing, like, to satisfy an ear like Yuka's, when he wants something, when he says he wants it 60 cents sharp, like, he's gonna know if it's off, but, you know, and he's gonna drive him nuts, and it's not going to achieve the intention. It's not gonna achieve what he set out to do with that part or something, right? So,
right.
And then that particular song, my voice is run through all kinds of distortion effects anyway. So, like, killing harmonics in the source was not a concern.
Right. Because it's so saturated at that point
afterwards, right? So, in that case, it's a little different. But since recording you on that song, I don't think I could say I've had any better experiences in Nashville with the singer than that.
Wow.
That's why I'm really looking forward to the next one, by the way. Because
we need to get on that.
We do. Yeah.
we got a few buns in the oven right now, and I do for my stuff as well.
Great.
I think that really speaks to, and there's sort of, I think the missing,
and that's not to say there's not a lot of great singers in Nashville, by the way.
Right.
But go ahead. Yeah.
Right. They're just not as good as I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a really important piece to that is not really just like what's the singer and the performer's piece or the musician's piece, and also what's the producer trying to do, but that relationship is so freaking important in a studio setting where you kind of have to have each individual in their lane. And I know my job as a singer, who has also produced and has also been a musician and has also done a little bit of mixing. Like, I've been in, like, the different seats, but if I'm coming in as a musician and as a singer, my goal is to ragdoll as much as possible. Like, show up, know my stuff, be excellent, perform it to the best of my ability. But I am the instrument, and you're like the piano player in this instant. And, like, if a piano player is really, really good,
how you avoided saying pianist.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
I did avoid saying that. Let the record show.
That'll be the second word outlawed on the Awful Music Podcast. First one is vibe.
Oh, I forgot about vibe. Yeah.
Second one is pianist.
Moist pianist vibes.
Yes.
One of my patrons came into the
comments.
One of my comments came in, or not comments about. One of my patrons came into the comments of that episode where you're bitching about it to Yuka. I was like, I like Casey. He's got a good vibe. It's vibing super hard to Casey right now.
Yeah.
Vibes.
Chorus.
It has become a nothing word. I appreciate what it accomplished at first, but it's kind of just become a.
It is. It's exactly what it is.
It's the of this current generation.
Yeah.
Like
vibes.
It's the like of That's true.
But the artist and producer relationship, like my goal is to come in, like I said, in ragdoll. So like you think of someone who is a pianist and that can absolutely shred. Like I've been eating all of Tigran Hamashian's repertoire forever. And every single song that I hear him play and do for the past 2 years, I never one time have had the thought of like, man, that piano sounds really good. I'm like, he, as the keys player, is phenomenal. And I think when a producer is working with a singer, like I have to recognize I'm coming in to be an instrument, and your job is to like get that effect out of, me. The producer's job is to like play the instrumentalist kind of thing and get out of them. So that's just back to, I suppose, like trusting not just your skill set, but your vision for this is what I'm hearing for this. And you're probably not hearing it. And you've also probably never done anything, even in the ballpark of what I'm hearing for this, but just trust me and keep on trying this until we get it locked in. And my job was just to be as open to that as possible.
Oh, that was you saying what I was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess, did you feel that way throughout that process? Like you kind of didn't know what I was talking about?
No. Well, I mean,
didn't really, like I wasn't able to make any references that were helpful.
No, you were helpful and you were clear. What I was saying was I didn't have the vision for the song that you have as the producer. And it's kind of not my job to in that setting to a degree.
It was mostly mine, and I didn't have the one that Casey did, but Casey's input was super fucking valuable.
Right. That's what a producer should be bringing, and it's exactly what you did.
Yeah, it's, and I appreciate that, though. I hope that it's to me it's kind of a game in democratic situations like that, or something resembling democratic situations like that, where everyone kind of gets to pitch, has an opportunity to pitch what their vision is for the end product. And I think that the reason why that went the way it did is just because I think I asserted myself in a clear way about what regarding how I saw the end result, and everyone just maybe either didn't think about it as much as me, or if they did, they just liked the way I pitched the vision more than what they had already preconceived.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know, but also a lot of it was. There were lots of times I was like, we got to do it this way. And Mike was like, no fucking way am I letting that happen. And I was like, okay, well then okay. All right.
Yeah, that's out.
Then that means that I just, in the same way that I would be playing you or something, in the same way, I feel like when a vision asserts itself more strongly than the one that I'm asserting, in this form, it was Mike's.
Yeah. Right? I was the client.
So, so I feel like he, in a way, is trying to wield my skill sets to the best of
to best achieve the vision
that you have. Right. So it is kind of like everyone's kind of doing that to each other in a situation like that, where
collaboration.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's almost like there's a word for it. Yeah. Yeah.
I think over time that's something that with more and more sessions, like that's something that obviously I had my own say so because it was my freaking voice that we were using.
There were tons of times I asked you what you liked most and what you wanted to do,
I think the biggest takeaway for me from that session honestly was, and this is something I've not had to deal with in a studio setting before. Like I've had to really be like in more of like the music theory world, or how do we get this thing actually, into Pro Tools or whatever. But it's the first session I ever had to where I had to really kind of navigate it from like a emotional standpoint, like an emotional intelligence standpoint, as opposed to like, let me put my theory brain cap on. Because I found really when I would get in a space for takes, it was a lot less helpful for me to be so perfectly on the grid, like exactly what you were saying, and more like into the emotion of what am I actually portraying here. And I'm not an actor, but it's really important for me to be able to muse in those moments. And I think anybody that does any studio work would agree with that.
I don't know. And, I think singing is a form of acting. You're pretending to be something you're not. You're trying to feel, empathize with a perspective that you don't necessarily have,
or portray in general.
Right.
Empathize and then portray. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're not a serial killer, right?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the song. Yeah. Maybe after our next session.
Right.
Yeah.
That one's not till the sequel.
Yeah. That'll be sequel.
Betrayal Part 2. This time, Bryan is literally a serial killer.
Yeah.
It'll be right there in the title.
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me about that was from not just a musical standpoint. You're talking about stamina, like vocal stamina, and we can talk like we can talk vocal shop and technique and all that stuff if we want to go down that rabbit hole.
I definitely want to get there at some time today.
Super nerdy about that stuff. I'd love to talk about it.
I think that would be very valuable. But continue about Betrayal.
But for me, I was so taken aback after the session left. I have not held that much physical anger in my body ever before for that period of time, because like we had like a couple of sessions that were over 5, 6, 7 hours. And a lot of the vocalizations require like full body emotive anger manifesting in this tiny little nickel-sized instrument here,
Yeah.
And I'd never in my own personal life, I'd never physically held that much anger in my body, and I was like struck by that. Like that's the thing I thought of after the session. I was like, oh wow, like what a sensation, and I had to kind of like come out of the oven for it for a little bit, kind of thing. Yeah.
Huh.
I think that was really noticeable for me. And then as the sessions went on, I got better and better tapping in and tapping out of it, kind of thing, as opposed to like not tapping in and tapping out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because it's long enough ago, and I try not to, after something that I did comes out, I try to not listen to it at all whatsoever. Like,
okay, I didn't know that.
For maybe like a month or two.
Okay.
And and like with that one, there would be times where and I've not had this experience as often as I had with Betrayal, but because I watch. Wow, I combined like and watch into wike.
Sounds like that should be a slur.
Yeah. I watch Mike's channel, and he would randomly, it'd randomly be in the intro or the whatever outro or something, whatever it is. He'd what's the word?
Use it because I can.
The word for promote, whatever.
Yeah.
Plug.
Yeah, plug. Yeah.
And I wouldn't I wouldn't recognize it at first. Be like, this sounds good. What is this? Like,
it's me.
And I was like, oh shit, I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was very different than anything I've done before. And
really,
like I didn't. The textural palette was something it was kind of like the first time I used it on something that came out, and I don't know.
Wow.
So
I didn't even know that. I thought
that
was
like I never did a song with like a heavy, like something resembling a breakdown.
Really,
I fucking hate that word.
Okay,
breakdown.
We can get into that another time.
Yeah, I hate that word to describe, the function that section of a song serves. Yeah. But it was an experiment for me. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And whenever I unexpectedly hear it nowadays,
it's kind of hilarious too, because you're the one who wrote the majority of that
heavy part. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me, because I actually always forget that too.
Yeah. You came up with that riff, and then
I came up with it on the spot. Like it was. Yeah. It was like the first idea that popped in. I was like, "How about this?" So like, and you were like, "Yeah." So like, we just did it.
I had something there that was like really mathy, cool, and angular. Like it's a really cool idea by itself, but for where the song was developing, it
needed something more visceral.
It just felt so out of place with what I had there initially. From where it was to that section, it was just like,
we deleted a whole section.
It feels try hard, but we need something here that's like breakdown-ish, because Jesse wanted a fucking breakdown. Like, okay, fine, we'll do breakdown. Yeah, we'll make it work. And
it feels incredibly violent.
Well, that's what we accessed. We were just like, fuck, let's do it. This is fucking. And I was like pacing the room, and you were typing in fucking notes on the mini. I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
It's getting in, dude. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole process, was like between you just like fucking typing shit in, and me just like, okay, what if we try this really quick? We fucking meticulated a simple, effective, and dope as fuck part. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
We fucking pop wrote that basically. like not writing like pop, but like the same method that like pop producers in a writing room would do.
What do you mean?
Like fucking just like, oh, we gotta fucking figure it out. So let's figure it out really quick. Just to start doing shit and be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like like not being precious with anything.
Yeah, true.
It was really cool.
That was one of the biggest pieces of advice that I because the other week Jay was having one of his Song Factory things here where he brings 10 writers in from LA. And
hold on, really quick for the audience. Jay is the guy
who owns this house in which we're filming this, in which my studio is.
And also is
we've written together a million times. He's one of my best friends. Great producer, writer.
Badass sync guy, badass original.
Yeah, he kills it
guy.
in sync. And every once a month he assembles a group of writers, producers to work on stuff for sync. And he had that happen here the other week. And one of the guys is going around with a camera asking each writer producer what, the one most valuable piece of advice they learned throughout their career was. And mine was simply just never to get married to anything that you throw out into the room or anything that you record, any idea. Just don't get married to any idea irrationally. Always be willing to say, that is better. Let's get rid of this one that I thought was best. That's the most valuable piece of advice I ever learned. And with that section of Betrayal, I credit my ability to pitch it successfully to Mike to this weird template workflow that I've developed where I have all the instruments laid out in MIDI and they kind of already sound fucking awesome. Like they already sound mixed and shit.
Even your MIDI metal guitars sound pretty legit.
I have I have a way to program guitars and shit like that, and it takes like 2 seconds, and I can do it. I can have a riff in my head, and then under 60 seconds later, after I clicked MIDI notes around, I can hit play and it sounds like a full band fucking just killing a sick riff.
Oh, sick.
You know what I mean? And like if it weren't for that,
I'd be very interested to know some of the libraries you use.
Stupidly good at the articulations. He's really good.
Yeah, well, thanks, but I have to credit it mostly to the library and to my mix template because the mix template is what is so much in 2023, 2022, in which people are kind of already accustomed to metal sounding super tight and gridded and edited and metronomic. It sounding big is really what gets it to be convincing because even if it is like a little too tight, a little too perfect, it's just like he gets what I'm going for. And if the mix is huge,
this is the thing I've been trying to tell Jesse for so long.
Well,
this
anyway,
is with like
if I
pitching me ideas. I need to know what it fucking sounds like, not just what the math is conceptually.
Yeah, hearing something sound confident, like to me, a good mix is the difference. I'd analogize by saying a good mix versus like a not mixed whatever is the difference between someone singing something with conviction and not singing it with conviction.
Yeah.
That's what a mix does to
it's running,
to manifest the emotion of a song. I think
it's running
it brings
a
the
pentatonic
confidence
scale
to it
versus singing a gospel
to the
line.
sonic experience. Yeah, sure. So like, but just being able to do that with that part, because it's like if I picked up a guitar and played it, it'd be like that's really dumb and simple, and like it sounds like it just popped in, and it sounds like it wasn't refined or intellectualized sufficiently to qualify for to be up to par with the rest of the song. But because I had a mix template that sounded great, I could plug it in real quick, and then it sounds great, and he gets it.
If you just use the default Logic settings for electric guitar on that, I probably wouldn't have been sold necessarily. Like to your point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people need to understand the importance of the sonic, the mixing and the sonic facet of
the articulation.
All of that being just an enormous facet of how the emotion and the confidence of a performance or a song or anything comes across.
Oh yeah,
it's just so enormous.
It is like tonality, textures, all those things are like so central to what an idea is, like just as much as here's the numbers and here's the harmony and the progression behind it.
Yeah. And so in my head, when I think of when a part like that pops in, and just for anyone who lost track again, we're talking about that really heavy section in Crusade's Betrayal.
Yep.
Because I'm able to hear what I know, because I'm able to hear in my head what I know I'm going to be able to do with the mix. That's how I know that a riff is going to be fucking cool or not. So I know I'm going to be able to make it sound huge. If I didn't know I was going to be able to make it sound huge, then there's no point in playing a riff that needs to be huge. If I can't make it sound the way it needs to.
I think that's another
knowing
reason
that I was going to be the mixer, right?
I think
I'm not going to do something that I think I can't make it sound good, which is part of why we always would butt heads on arrangement ideas. Because I'd be like, he'd want more things happening than what I thought was sufficient. He'd be like, no, we need this other guitar here. I'd be like, I don't think we do. It's going to make the mix sound smaller to me because there's going to be more things crowding up the space. I think these things fill the space, but then he would really want some other thing there that because I mean, I ended up agreeing in most cases, right?
Yeah,
Once I was able to get the mix to sound good with that other part that I initially didn't want that he did. Once I was able to do that, then I was like, okay, yeah, it is cooler this way, you know? And that was a good experience for me because that was learned. I got to have to, I had to get good enough to make it work, you know?
I think that's partially why I was also convinced on the, what do you call it? The breakdown section, the heavy section too, was because I was like, okay, I know Casey can make this sound big. Like that section wouldn't work if it was like me before knowing you mixing it.
Sure.
Would not have worked at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to know how to arrange the flattering frequencies of every instrument and arrangement to achieve that that size.
So Bryan,
for a simple part.
Bryan complimented my vocal mixing the other week, which I was very flattered by. I didn't think I did an amazing job, but he is basically complimenting you because you're the one who gave me all the plugins and shit. You guys need to get together and talk shop on vocal. Actually, now might be a good time to just talk shop on vocals in general.
Yeah,
since we've been just fucking blabbering.
You don't think it's too like inappropriate demographically?
If you guys talk like vocal technique, no, I don't think it would be.
Really?
I think as long as you keep in mind that there's people watching who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, and you explain it along the way. Yeah,
sure, okay.
I think like I would love to do an entire podcast where you just teach me vocal technique. I think that would be really cool.
Okay,
because I'm the empty vessel here.
Yeah, I don't really think I'd be able to fill a podcast with that. I don't know enough about it, but anyway,
I bet you fucking could. But either way, regardless,
producing vocals, yes, but